asked, what is that ear ringing?
Mm.
I mean,
Well,
I'm jumping a little bit from one and
yeah,
another, no?
yeah, I
But
saw that
is that
question on the
okay with
list.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
The ear ringing is going to be different for different people.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people are hearing the sound of electrical devices, and that also includes the cellular signals that travel through the air. So the cellular signals are a vibration of electricity, and it comes out of the phones, it comes out of the antennas, and sometimes we're hearing that sound when we're in our normal environment. And you would notice if you're actually hearing that sound or not if you would go to a location in which there are no cellular phones active and no antennas. So sometimes we are hearing that vibration. Other times it's a person's own health condition. Sometimes the muscles in our neck and oftentimes in the upper part of our shoulders, upper back, are really tight. And then the muscles put pressure on the nerves that are moving from the ear into the skull. Sometimes there's an imbalance in the fluid inside the ears, and so the ears are not properly draining themselves and they're accumulating toxins. And so there might be small crystals of minerals, for example, inside these passages of hearing. And because they're crystalline, they hold vibration. It's like the battery of a quartz crystal. Sorry, like in a watch, there's a battery and there's a quartz crystal, and the quartz crystal receives the electricity from the battery, and the crystal vibrates. So if you have crystalline structures, like silicon-based structures or mineral structures in your ears,
Yeah.
they could be receiving the electricity that travels through the nerves, and they'll be holding a vibration, and then you hear a constant humming. So sometimes it's pressure on the nerves, sometimes it's actually some things growing or not being released in those channels in your ears, those small tubes. Other times you are actually hearing electricity because of all the electrical devices we have. And then there's another aspect which does happen as well. So as we awaken and as we become more aware of non-physical energies, we can hear sounds of our chakras. And if you're interested, you could look this up and find what sounds relate to what chakras. But sometimes there's the ringing of bells. Sometimes there's the sounds like the buzzing of bees. So there's different sounds that you can hear, usually only during meditation when you're going deeper into these chakras. So what most people do experience in the physical hearing is something in their physical body, or like I said, in the atmosphere because of all the electrical devices we have.
Yeah, because they say sometimes it's the eye, it's the phone, sometimes it's the chakras. And
Yeah.
is there a difference between the left and the right one?
In terms of the energy channels, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Is
Yeah,
there a different message if you hear a beep?
well, in my mind, the message should be understandable for it to be a message. So usually for me, the ringing in the ears, although I don't hear it personally, but the ringing in the ears would be not really a form of communication because the message would be not be able to be received. It would be an ineffective way for any higher dimensional being to communicate. Right? So, in my experience, whenever I've communicated with any beings, it will be felt as emotion, maybe heard as sound, right? Like an actual communication stream, like words. It might be seen as symbols, or it might be known. Maybe there's a silent part of us that knows what it is they're communicating because our deeper minds are connected. So, for me, when it's non physical communication, the message is actually effectively delivered. Sometimes people don't understand their health problems. Sometimes people haven't yet investigated their experiences well enough, and they just automatically assume it's something related to spirituality. And I think that that assumption can be dangerous, just like any assumption can be dangerous. There have been experiences where human beings have had, spiritual things happen, and it turned out it actually was a physical health challenge. Sometimes people think they have a physical health challenge and it is actually spiritual energy, right? So we really have to investigate more to try to understand what's happening rather than just assume it's something without having the evidence to support it. Um, you asked about the right and left side. Yeah, they are different in their function. So the right side of our body has more solar energy, it's often been called, or masculine energy or fire energy. The left side has more lunar energy, like the moon, which is also called more of like a mental or an emotional energy or a water energy. And so we notice that both the sides of our body have these different feelings. The right feels more excited and like it's rising up, like fire. The left feels calm, cool, and relaxing, often like it's flowing downward, like water. There are different breathing practices, for example, in pranayama, in which you can change the flow of the energy as well. You can work with it and bring them in harmony together. But we'll still notice that the right side is always more fiery, the left side's always more watery.
Oh, okay.
Some people might say, well, your father's karma is in your right side and your mother's karma is in your left side. I don't think it's that exact, although I do see that oftentimes that's the case. The reason why I say I don't think it's that exact, but it's the case, is because usually our father demonstrates more of these fiery qualities, and our mother demonstrates more of these watery qualities. And we got the examples of how to think and feel from our parents. But if we had a mother who was very fiery, we would notice that her conditioning, her karma, as some people call it, her psychological conditioning is imprinted in the right side of my body. Even though it's my mother, it has a fiery quality because she was a very fiery person and she influenced my self-esteem or my confidence, something fiery. And I feel her influence on the right side of my body.